My name is Sam, and I need you to imagine something for a moment. You're stationed thousands of miles away from home, doing the job you've been trained for. Out of the blue, you receive an email that flips your entire world upside down. That's how I found out my wife was divorcing me, through an email. To say it broke me doesn't even begin to explain the impact. But before that moment, everything seemed perfectly fine. I want to walk you through exactly what happened, because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear this. Maybe you're a soldier like me, or perhaps you trusted the wrong person with your heart. Either way, stick with me until the end, because I've learned some hard lessons that I'm about to share with you. I met Diana right after returning to Texas from an out-of-state military mission. Once home, I decided to try one of those dating apps. My goal was simple. I was looking for something casual. I wasn't ready to commit to anyone. I just wanted to unwind and meet someone new. That's when I came across Diana. She was stunning, and honestly, I couldn't help but feel intrigued. We matched, started chatting, and, to my surprise, it went beyond the usual small talk. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't expect much from this. I thought we'd meet up for a date, maybe have a good time, and that would be the end of it. But when we met in person, things took an unexpected turn. Our first date was different. We dove into deep conversations almost immediately. I shared stories from my military experiences, and she was genuinely interested. Most people don't truly understand what it's like being away for long periods, but Diana seemed to care. As I opened up to her, she did the same. Diana had a 4-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. She wasn't hiding her past, which made me respect her even more. She was open about it from the start, and I appreciated her honesty. We went on a few more dates, and with each one, I started to see more of who she really was. What began as something casual slowly turned into something I didn't expect. The more time we spent together, the more I felt like I'd found someone genuine. We started dating seriously, and even though my job often made things complicated, Diana brought a sense of steadiness and security into my life. About a year into our relationship, I proposed. She said yes without hesitation. Friends and family told me I was lucky. They said she was beautiful, kind, and down to earth. I believed them. She became something I could look forward to while deployed. Her texts, little video updates, the countdown calendars we made for when I'd return. It all made the distance easier to handle. During the year we were together, I deployed twice. Being away for that long is always tough, but Diana made it bearable. She always picked up my calls, sent care packages, and wrote me letters. I held on to those letters. Looking back now, I sometimes wonder how much of it was real and how much of it was just a well-crafted mask she wore. But back then, I was fully invested. I loved her, and I trusted her. A few months after I proposed, we got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony in a church, just a handful of close friends and family. Right after the wedding, I did what I thought any responsible husband would do. I added Diana to my military benefits. That meant she'd be covered under my insurance, could access military resources, and would receive support while I was away. I wanted her to feel secure, like she had everything she needed. We also opened a joint bank account. It felt like the right move at the time. Being a unit meant full transparency. My paychecks went directly into that account, and she had access to everything. That's how much I trusted her. Soon after, I used my VA loan to buy a house. But I didn't just put it in my name. I put her name on the title, too. Knowing the nature of my job and that deployments were inevitable, I made sure to assign her power of attorney before each one. This meant she could handle legal matters, sign documents, and make financial decisions on my behalf while I was overseas. I didn't see this as a risk. I saw it as a responsibility. She was my wife, and that came with trust and access. I never made big decisions alone. I wanted to make her feel included, like she was truly a part of everything. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought this was what love was about: complete trust, full commitment, and allowing myself to be vulnerable. But just over a year into our marriage, only weeks before I was set to deploy again, things between Diana and me began to change. She started to pull away. Our conversations became shorter. She no longer asked about my day the way she used to. Instead, her responses were more like "I'm tired" or "It's nothing, don't worry about it." I'd be talking about something that happened to me, and midway through, I'd realized she wasn't even paying attention. Her focus was always on her phone. She started stepping out to take private calls. When I asked her who she was talking to, she'd reply with vague answers like just work or nothing to worry about. But I couldn't help worrying. I knew things were different when she began staying out later. Sometimes she claimed it was dinner with co-workers. Other times, she said it was hanging out with friends. When I pressed for more details, she acted irritated. In the military, you hear stories. Stories of brothers in arms who come home to find their wives had cheated while they were deployed. Some returned to empty houses. Some came back to find their wives pregnant by someone else. I had heard enough of those stories to recognize the warning signs. I didn't want to believe it could happen to me, but the signs were hard to ignore. So I made a choice. I wasn't going to confront her. Instead, I decided to take precautions, because if things went the way I feared, I needed to be prepared. I went to the military legal office on base and revoked Diana's power of attorney. She would no longer be able to make decisions or access certain benefits on my behalf while I was away. I made sure to have everything documented. Next, I went to the bank and opened a new savings account in my name only. I began redirecting all my special pays and allowances into that account. I couldn't change my regular salary deposits without raising suspicion, so I left our joint account alone for the time being. I also updated my emergency contact information and made my older brother my new power of attorney. He was the one person I trusted to have my back no matter what. I needed to see if my suspicions about Diana were valid, or if I was just overthinking things. Either way, I wanted to be ready if things went south. Once deployed, I tried to reach out to her as often as I could. Texts, calls, whatever I could manage. At first, she answered like normal. But soon, her replies started taking longer, or sometimes she wouldn't reply at all. Calls that used to last half an hour were now cut short. When I asked her if everything was okay, she always had a ready excuse. She was overwhelmed with work or just had too much going on at home. On the surface, these were valid reasons. I knew life as a military spouse wasn't easy, but the way she acted made it feel like she was doing everything she could to avoid me asking any further questions. Something didn't sit right. I'd seen this before with other soldiers whose marriages fell apart while they were deployed. A few weeks later, we were told our return date had been postponed again. It was a second delay in a row. This time, there had been an issue with the mission, and they said we might be out there for several more months. I wasn't happy about it, but it came with the job. I remember messaging Diana to let her know about the delay. She didn't respond immediately, but by then, I was used to that. What I didn't expect, though, was the email I received from her a few days later. The subject line was simply my name. The message was brief and cold. I filed for divorce. Please don't contact me. It's over. I sat there trying to process what I had just read. My first instinct was to check our joint account, maybe looking for some sign that things hadn't completely fallen apart. But when I logged in, the balance was zero. She had drained it, every single cent. That moment hit me hard. I had meant to set up transaction alerts before I left, just like I planned when I met with the legal office. But between deployment prep and trying to avoid tension with Diana before leaving, I had put it off. I thought I could trust her enough to wait for me. That turned out to be one of my biggest mistakes. But even though the hurt was overwhelming, I needed answers. I had to understand the full extent of the betrayal. So I called my brother and asked him to check on the house. A few hours later, he called me back, and what he said I will never forget. There's a guy here living in your house. Diana had moved her ex-boyfriend in without even waiting for the divorce papers to be signed. It felt like a weight dropped onto my chest, as if I was suffocating. The precautions I had taken before deploying didn't make the pain go away, but they did shield me from financial disaster. Emotionally, I was shattered, but at least I had some security when it came to my finances. The moment my boots hit U.S. soil, I went straight to work. I contacted my lawyer and filed for an emergency hearing. The case, dissipation of marital assets. I wasn't just emotionally betrayed. I had been financially robbed, and I had the evidence to prove it. I came to court with everything I had, bank statements showing how she drained our joint account right after sending that email, copies of my deployment orders to show I wasn't even in the country when it all went down, and most importantly, the pictures my brother had taken of her ex-boyfriend living in our home. After a lot of back and forth, the judge made a ruling. The evidence was undeniable. Diana's actions were officially categorized as financial misconduct. She hadn't just cheated on me. She used our shared finances to support another man. That wasn't just betrayal. Legally, it was theft. The court gave her an ultimatum: either repay half of what she took from the joint account or forfeit her share of the remaining assets. It felt like justice was finally beginning to take shape, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I felt like I was starting to regain control. The final judgment came a few months later, and the judge didn't hold back. Based on the evidence I provided, I was awarded sole ownership of the house. The judge agreed that Diana's affair had begun before she even filed for divorce. She had moved in with another man while we were still legally married. That amounted to abandonment, infidelity, and cohabitation, all before the divorce was finalized. After the ruling, I wasted no time. I filed for eviction right away. 2 weeks later, I stood on the driveway of my own home while a sheriff's deputy escorted both Diana and her boyfriend out. I just stood there, watching. After the court decision and the finalization of the divorce, I knew I had to make sure every last tie between us was severed. There couldn't be any possibility of her coming back financially or legally. I reached out to the Judge Advocate General's office, JAG, to begin the process of cutting all remaining connections between us. The first step was removing her from my military benefits. No more health insurance under my name. I made sure she lost all access to TRICARE, dependent allowances, spousal privileges, and any base resources. Anything that linked her to my service, my rank, or my benefits was shut down. Then I updated my will. Her name, which had once been listed as a beneficiary, was now blank. I replaced it with someone I could trust completely. I had to be thorough. She didn't just lose me. She lost everything that came with being my wife. The security, the benefits, the stability, all gone. As for the money she took from our joint account, the court was clear. Diana couldn't pay it back. The judge decided to offset what she stole by removing her from any share of our remaining assets. She had no claim to the equity in the house, no claim to the car, no claim to anything we had built together. The math was simple. What she took was deducted from what she would have received. In the end, she walked away with nothing. And because our marriage was so short, barely 2 years, she didn't qualify for alimony in our state. No spousal support, no monthly checks, no legal claim to drag me back to court later. It was over. Despite everything that had happened, the betrayal, the divorce, the court battle, the eviction, Diana still had the nerve to reach out. She sent a series of messages, hinting at the same thing. She wanted to talk. She needed a chance to explain herself. I saw the messages, read every single one of them, but I never replied. Not once. It wasn't because I didn't have anything to say. It was because I knew that nothing she said would be worth the energy. Her explanations wouldn't undo what she'd done. They wouldn't refill that empty bank account. She made her choices without any respect for me, and letting her back into my life, even just for a conversation, would have been like reopening a wound that still hadn't healed. I won't lie. Walking away didn't fix everything right away. I lost years of my life, and that's something I'll never get back. That's the part that hurt the most, not just the betrayal itself, but realizing I had given someone full access to my world, and she destroyed it without a second thought. But in all the chaos, I did learn something valuable. And I say this now, with every ounce of clarity I've gained the hard way. Blind loyalty can be dangerous when it's not protected by boundaries. It might sound harsh, but it's the truth. You can love someone deeply, but if you don't protect your heart and your assets wisely, that love can be weaponized against you. That's exactly what happened to me. Healing wasn't easy. I used to think therapy was for people who couldn't handle things on their own. But after hearing it suggested by enough people I trusted, I decided to give it a try. I won't pretend I opened up on day one, but little by little, I did. And as much as I hate to admit it, talking helped. Just being heard without judgment made a difference. It helped me start to put the pieces of myself back together. So here's my advice to anyone listening, especially to those in long-distance relationships, in the military, or anyone who's fully trusted another person. Love deeply, but protect yourself, both legally and emotionally. Keep your eyes open. Set boundaries, and never ignore your instincts, especially when you're far away. Those gut feelings, they are not paranoia. They're your soul warning you. Listen to them. I wish I had, sooner,